Alrighty, hello and welcome back to this here podcast. I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I got all the teams. I'm just going to kind of sift through everything that is of interest. Starting off with the best team in the East, the 76ers, 7-2. They're playing good. You know, they've definitely had their times where they aren't playing good. The backup, their second units have all stepped it up big time. But I think that what we are really looking at here is Daryl Morey should take this as a cue. Get rid of Ben Simmons. It is really, you don't need to haul another All-NBA player in return. And I think that's stupid to think because Ben Simmons isn't a true All-NBA player, right? You're not going to get a Damian Lillard type player like he thinks he does, and you don't need to, right? If you can get some complementary pieces and build around Embiid. He's the star player there. He's the MVP candidate type player. You build around him. Even if he's not playing hot, you need more threats. Just, your team is doing fine. Get a 2-for-1. Get two quality-ass starting caliber players, and then some of your starters will go down on the bench. Your depth will get better. Your whole team will be a more cohesive unit. That's what you should be doing. Because the truth about Ben Simmons, in the modern NBA, he doesn't fit, right? Because realistically, Ben Simmons' ideal teammates are all 3-and-D players. Maybe not all of them, but his center needs to be 3-and-D. And there is not a 3-and-D center in the league, right? Because Ben Simmons, he can't be the rim protector. He's a point of attack defender. So you have to have a rim protector behind him. But all of the rim protectors in the league don't shoot threes. So if you have a great rim protector, then on offense you're going to be clogging up the paint. And if you have a 3-and-D center, which would be ideal, now all of your issues are solved. But really, to even want to work that around him, he needs to attack the paint more, and he doesn't really do that. So realistically, shipping off Ben Simmons for quality players is a fucking W. Just get rid of him. Until his game changes, the league is not going to fucking bend around his playstyle. And so he has to bend his playstyle around the league. And right now there isn't really a fit for him. I don't see any team that... sure, there are teams that you can always benefit from a quality NBA player, but it's not at a max contract. I don't see where, if you're a championship fucking team with championship aspirations, where Ben Simmons and his max contract fit into your equation. I just don't see that. The Bulls, they're 6-2, which has been inflated, right? They started off, they had the Pistons. Jazz rested Mike Conley, who is a necessity on that team. People don't like to think about it that way, but Mike Conley is a big part of that organization. They came out on top. Props to them. It's about to get rocky for them. They have a real tough stretch they're going into. But I think that's fair. You accept that. No one on the Bulls fan base that was rational really thought this was their year to win the championship. So what they're going to do, you should all be happy for. You should enjoy it. You will be competitive. You'll have good games. You'll get in the playoffs. You can get your playoff delusions that you can fucking win the championship. But at the end of the day, this team is still going to be gelling. They're going to figure everything out. And, Vucevic hasn't played great. He's been pretty much fucking missing offensively. And Zach LaVine was kind of chucking shots last game. At the end, in the fourth quarter, DeMar DeRozan is coming clutch. They will get to where they're a very intimidating team in the postseason. But it's going to get a little rocky here for this next little bit. And that shouldn't be alarming. In my opinion, I think it's going to get rocky. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they just blow through everyone, and they're the biggest surprise, and they're the best team in the NBA. I don't think so, though. The Nets at 5-3. This is a similar Ben Simmons situation, where I think that the Nets should be looking to turn Kyrie, go 2-for-1, build out that depth. Their front court is it's not championship caliber. A lot of you take Kevin Durant off that team, and that team is buns. Or, James Harden, he's never been an elite shooter. He's always going to be a great playmaker, a great passer, a great traditional point guard, if he turns to more of that sense. but he is not the elite scoring option that he was under the foul bullshit era. He had the green light. He had fucking historical usage rate where he was shooting way higher volume than anybody else, and it was because he could tack on those fouls, and so it all panned out and it worked. But get rid of Kyrie Irving, because even if you get Kyrie Irving back, the vaccine mandates change or whatever, that team still is going to have the same struggles. Because Kyrie Irving is good, but he's just strictly ISO. James Harden, his scoring will be heavily impacted. I don't think that he's ever going to be a 30-point per game scorer again. I think that those years are all behind him, and his role will change. So, I think ideally I would say like a rim protector for Kyrie Irving. Get rim protector, 3-and-D wing, like get some depth and a rim protector. Moving forward, the Knicks and the Wizards, both looking solid. I don't have much to say. I think that the Wizards will fall down. Originally, I had them as like a 7 or 8, 9 seed, somewhere in that range. I think that's still where they'll be. So nothing's changed for me on that end. The Bucks, they've started off for 4 for 4. And now the reality, we're still in the preseason stage of the season, right? These first 10 games are where teams are still figuring it out. I don't think the Bucks should have anything to worry about starting off 4 for 4. Last year, the Jazz started off 4 for 4, 4 and 4, and finished the season with the best record. Like, it's the start. You can always turn that back around. The Bucks are definitely a top seed, if not the top seed in the East. So that's just some early season haze, kind of just, the league, the dust isn't quite settling yet. The Celtics, though, I don't think that this is terribly far off. Because when you look at some of the other teams, like the Hawks and the Pacers are both below the Celtics. And I think that the Hawks could be better than the Celtics record-wise. And the Pacers and the Celtics are pretty equal. Like, neither of those teams are elite teams, but neither of them are bad. They're just both kind of mediocre. And I think that people think that the Celtics are way better than they are. The last thing on this, the Eastern Conference, are the Pistons, where we have Cade Cunningham, who started off not hitting his shots, but he's been very impactful. He's a smart player. And I think that really what we're looking at with Cade is he should just have the green light, take 1 billion shots this year, just go balls to the wall, get in the groove, get your confidence. That is the guy that you build around, and you don't care if you're the worst team in the conference because you have no aspiration to be anything better than that. Franklin, no beer for you. Right, so as a Pistons fan, you don't really have any aspirations to be anything better than the worst team in the league, so you should be trying to just break that guy in. Now we're going to move over to the West Coast. So the Jazz are 7-1, and that should terrify the league because them, like a lot of the other teams in the West, like a lot of the other teams in the whole league, they are not quite clicking. Right? Most teams aren't clicking yet. They're still figuring out their shots, and the Jazz are shooting horribly. Right? The Jazz are shooting horribly. Donovan Mitchell just had his first good game last game. He had a 30-point and then a 28 before that, but those weren't actually good games. Like Donovan, if you're watching it, he was getting the points, but he wasn't Donovan Mitchell. That last game where he had 36, 8, and 6, that was the first time Donovan Mitchell was Donovan Mitchell. And he looked like Donovan Mitchell, and then he rolled his ankle, and so we missed him last game for the Hawks. And Jordan Clarkson was kind of like, I thought he would be the next job, him or Conley, that would take a majority of the points that Donovan Mitchell was going to miss, and it was Clarkson, but he started off his first half absolutely terrible. And he's been terrible all year. And then in that second half, he went off for 25 points, caught fire, and really started to get his confidence back to where I think that'll carry on for the rest of the season now. He shook the rust off finally. Donovan Mitchell is finally shaking the rust off. Joe Ingles and Conley were already playing great. We need Bojan to shake his rust off. And this team has the best record, and they're still shaking a lot of rust off. The next is the Warriors. That's a lot of early season noise, right? They have the best defense in the league, but that's not real. I don't think that they're legit. Just like the team below them. The Mavericks are 5-3, and Luka, a lot of people's favorite fucking MVP candidate for God knows why, going into the season, is a negative player this year. He's been net negative. They are worse with him on the court than the Mavericks are without him. And overall, they are a net negative team, but they somehow have a winning record. But that is not going to stay. The Mavericks are not legit. The Warriors, I don't think are very legit either. But then you go down and there's teams like the Suns. The Suns are going to be legit. Unless Chris Paul really has had it, his career is over, and he's just going to coast out on his final contract, then he'll maybe sign some like minimums, but he's done playing real basketball. Unless Chris Paul falls apart, the Suns are going to be legit. They're going to be rise to the top, and those teams are going to fall down. The Lakers have a lot to worry about, but they also have a lot to look forward to. Guys like Wayne Ellington, their best shooter, coming back. They have Carmelo Anthony's been playing great. They have things to look forward to. They have other people that haven't played yet that are going to play great for them, that fit well with what they're doing. The Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, all in the court, all at the same time dilemma is still yet to be resolved. And I don't know if it can be, because realistically, Russell Westbrook isn't really a positive player. It's like he did not help the Wizards. The Wizards got way better when they dished him off and got role players. He was not helping the Rockets at all. It's like he was great in his prime on OKC with good pieces around him. He did good, but he's like, I don't know how he fits in today's game. I don't know what the fuck they do with him, and I don't know what they figure out going forward, but I do trust that they have enough talent to figure something out. We also have the Blazers. The Blazers are in that, Damian Lillard is going to hit a three at some point within the next week or two. He's going to hit a three on the next possession, hit another three, and then kind of just break that mental barrier of struggling, and then he's going to fucking torch a team for a whole half, just like Jordan Clarkson just did, and then he's back to Damian Lillard, and he'll coast on that for the rest of the season. He just still hasn't shaken his rust off. And yeah, the Pelicans are looking like literal dog shit, but they have a lot to look forward to as well. But, there's a lot of games to talk about, like OKC beating the Lakers twice and fucking, I don't know, there's a lot of dumb shit, but really none of this matters. The first 10 games are really the preseason, and I think that's going to be a trend moving forward. Because back in the day, right, 20 years ago, your dominant forces were all working inside, which you don't really have to click back into that groove of, like, if you're Shaquille O'Neal, you're 300 pounds, 7'2", you don't have to get back in the groove. You're just a fucking freak of nature. You can dunk on it, and you throw down a dunk and you get your confidence up and you keep dunking. But with shooting, it's more finesse. And so you kind of have to get in that rhythm and get that confidence and just break through those mental barriers. Be like, yeah, I do this. I can do it. Just get like this, just like the open gym, and just kind of just fall back into that place. And with so much 3-point shooting in today's game, I think that we're going to see a lot of slow starts from here on out moving forward throughout the rest of the NBA, until it gets to a point where everyone is just so good at shooting that everyone's Steph Curry from behind the arc, because he can just come in every season and torch it. But most of the guys are not Steph Curry. Then I had one more point I wanted to make. Oh yeah, so that's the first 10 games, right? It's the real preseason. And then I would say after 25 games, that's where we can really analyze what teams are doing. Because right now, everyone is still figuring it out. These are pretty much pointless. Other than the fact that it actually affects your record, these games, you cannot sit down and watch a game today and actually be like, yep, this is indicative of how the season is going to look. This is indicative of what the postseason is going to look like. Nothing that we're watching on the TVs right now really means shit. And I don't think they will until about game 20, after about 25 games. And then, you know what? Kicking off 2022, the dust will be kind of settled, and teams will start trying to push to move around in the standings, and we'll actually have a good understanding of who the teams are. But that's just my understanding of the muck that we're seeing. I know there's a lot of teams here I didn't talk about, but there's just, it really is such a cloudy time in the league. Until then, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next Friday.